What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to Twisted Youngins, the most unorthodox show on the globe. We hope everyone is having a great day today, staying out the way, staying blessed. I am one of your hosts, Myra B. King.
And what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Mojo in the building. We have a special guest with us today, ma'am. Let the people know who you are.
Hi, how y'all doing? My name is SaRayah. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I am a recording artist, entrepreneur, vocalist, professional vocalist, and that's what I do for a living. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here with you guys today and ready to chop it up with y'all.
So for starters, you're from Chicago. How was that growing up in Chicago?
Well, growing up, I mean, I think, you know, those who may know me or may have followed my story from The Voice, I grew up in Cabrini Green, and that's a very notorious project, housing project. So that's where me, my family and we grew up in that project housing authority. And for me, it was just like, that was life. It wasn't that's all we knew coming up. So of course we were in the midst of everything, gun wars, drugs, everything that comes with that life. I was right in the midst of it, but it just seemed like life for me. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like some big scary ordeal. I had a good childhood, and I experienced a lot of what some people probably only see on TV. You know what I'm saying? But I think I had a life. I'm one of 5 children. And so growing up with 5 of us, 2 being older and 2 being younger, I'm right in the middle. So I experienced, I feel like a good childhood despite our adversities,
How were you able to stay out the way in the midst of that? Especially being a young girl coming up in the projects, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had people who loved me. My grandmother, for one, while my mother suffered from a drug addiction, my grandmother took myself and my 4 siblings all in so that we wouldn't have to be separated. And my grandmother, she kept a tight household, and it was, she was not one to let us loosely, just loosely run around. And so while we were in the midst of it, we were still not allowed to be engulfed in everything that was going on. And so that, I feel, protected us from a lot of dangers that we probably didn't even realize we were being protected from.
So with all that going on, what influenced you to want to be a recording artist?
Oh, I feel like that thing chose me. As a child, I've always known what I was going to do. And I'm naturally, like, I never really, whenever I was asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, as a kid, it was always, I want to be a famous singer. I want to be a professional singer. And that answer never changed. I mean, I was 5 years old with that answer. And so I feel like I was chosen to do it. You know what I'm saying? And so I was tapped in as a kid. I was like really spiritual as a kid. And it's like, I know that this is what I'm going to do. And I can't wait to get her done. Like, that's kind of where I was with it. And so, yeah, as I grew older, it only made sense for me to fall in line with that path.
Absolutely. What kind of music were you into back then? Because obviously everyone knows the drill scene and whatnot like that. But what kind of music was going on in Chicago back at that time?
Well, when I was younger, I mean, I was a kid when I 5, 6, 7, when I was in the projects, I came out right at my teen years, like before my teen years hit. And so at that time, I was heavily into Aaliyah and Brandy and Monica. And, Brandy was the very first artist that I kind of like, oh my God, idolized her, and she was the very first artist that I fell in love with. And I wanted to be just like Moesha. You know what I'm saying? It was like that. And so, but coming up, I grew up in church and I started singing in church. So gospel is the very root of everything that I do. And I even still do it to this day. But I think that's where it started for me. I loved people that I saw coming up at that time, the Brandys, the Aaliyahs. But I was in church and was known or was brought up singing in church. I hit that choir. I hit them solos, my first solo, 5 years old. And everybody saw the talent or saw the gift that was there, and they helped to push that, you know.
That's beautiful. I hear a lot of artists, especially in R&B, that obviously they talk about how they made the transition, because a lot of them, especially older artists from back in the 70s and 60s and early 80s.
Yeah, the legends.
The legends. They all come from gospel, you know, Sam Cooke and things like that. Like a lot of artists came out of the gospel house. Can you talk to us about that transition from going from gospel to strictly R&B?
And why?
Well, I wouldn't. Okay, so here's the thing about me. I'm not somebody that's easily boxed in. Okay, so I don't like to feel like I'm restricted. I like right now today, I do soul music, R&B music, as a part of my career, but I do everything. I'm a worshiper at heart. Like if you follow me on my Facebook page, you'll see what I do all the way around the board. That's my life. Music is a part of my life, and it's a part of the avenue that I feel helps me to carry out the purpose that God has on my life. You get what I'm saying? So while I do R&B music and soul music and stuff like that, I am in no way disconnected from gospel music or worship music, because I'm literally a worship leader in my church right now, you know, so I haven't disconnected from it. But to answer your question, going into a career where I'm singing R&B and soul music, it started with me actually doing cover stuff, like, you know, just having shows where I'm covering music that's already out there. And so I'm covering Mary J. Blige, I'm covering Brandy, I'm covering Whitney Houston, I'm covering Aretha Franklin. This is all stuff that I started making a living doing before I actually produced a project. You know what I'm saying? So as I went in to produce a project, the reason I chose to go in that direction was because I felt like I didn't want the limitation. You know what I'm saying? I feel like my call is to reach people, and they may not be in church. You know what I'm saying? So I'm open to singing about love and singing about life. That's what, you know what I'm still a person. We're all still people. Like, and I feel like the genre of music we sing does not change the life we live, you know?
Absolutely.
No, that's true. I guess it's more so people feel like they get a perception of you through music. So if they listen to
true.
A Cardi B or something, then they just think, oh, okay, because, you know, people idolize entertainers. And so when they see you entertaining or doing work, they expect like, okay, this is what this person is doing. You know, I can do that. I should do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I do feel like
and they feel like they know how it should sound.
And people don't be truly honest with what they believe in and want to put that in their art. They make, you know, like they make it seem like it can't be done, when it's some people who are really talented that does it well. You won't hear of them, of course, because that's not the agenda. But
right, that's the part.
So in order to get on, you got to kind of go with what's going on, and that's the tricky part. But I do want to ask you, so you mentioned, why do you think in like Black music, like you mentioned like Brandy was one of your influencers. Like, why do you think when it comes to Black music, especially like Black women, it's not enough room for all? It's like they kind of promote one at a time as far as like superstar level. But when it comes to white music, you can name all types of genres, all types of stars, but
they'll put
at least with me, hold on. Well, at least with me, I feel like with Black music is totally different. Even with the music, with the rap now, you know what I mean? It's not, we got tons of, everybody saying R&B dead. We got tons of R&B artists, tons of artists that does, you know, different types of music, but you only see the rap being pushed, and it's only like that with Black music.
And you saying, why do I feel it's like that?
Yeah, why do you think it's like that?
You know what? Honestly, I feel like our community of people, we go through phases. That's number one. The phase that we go through is based off the trend that's popping at that time. And I don't know. I can't tell you. I can't pinpoint why it feels like it just has to be one at a time. Because it does feel. I mean, that's a good observation. You can take any other genre of music, K-pop. You can. I mean, that's Korean music. You could take. And Korean music is pop. K-pop is popping overseas, right?
Mhm.
But like, you can take any other genre of music and name 11 artists that's busting, that's popping, and then you come to us, like you said, and there is a kind of a limitation on who can be popping at a time. You could be able to count it on one hand. You got her, you got SZA, all of that, but it can only be a few. And then, you know what I'm saying? Other than that, you need to be doing something else. I can't tell you exactly why that is. But I feel like it doesn't stem just from right now. I feel like it's always been that way. It was that way when Whitney Houston was out, and Whitney Houston, and I mean, not just Whitney Houston, but Janet Jackson and Shanice was out at the same time. People hardly know who Shanice is. I love your smile. Do, 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 do,
Yeah.
do.
And she had some nice hits too. She had good music.
Not only did she have good music, she's a beast vocally.
Mm-hmm.
And you would never have known that she was supposed to be out at the same time as Janet Jackson, but Janet Jackson was the one that got the light, and she's the one that rose to the top. It couldn't be both of them. And
because of the club.
Yeah.
The club, is
and she's a Jackson. She is a Jackson. Let's get it out there.
Right.
To be a part of the club, to be pushed.
Yeah.
So
I think what you said earlier, you mentioned the word agenda, and I think that was very profound when you say, it's not a part of the agenda. I recognize it seems to be a certain agenda that's always being pushed, and whoever's willing to push that agenda and fall in line with that agenda, that's usually who gets it. That's just what it seems like to me. The industry in itself is a tricky industry to be a part of, and that's the bottom line.
And so how does that make you feel as an artist who's like really talented, really passionate about it? Like, how are your emotions feeling at this point?
I see if I were not a person who believed in the perfect will of God for every person, if I didn't believe that way, I would really be disheartened by the fact that, okay, well, why haven't I, gotten a chance to kind of be the next Beyonce, or to be, what have you. I would feel that way, but ultimately, and sometimes it does get hard when you are pressing and you feel like, okay, when is that season gonna come? When is that time gonna come? But there's a knowing that I have that to everything and everybody, there's a time and a season. Yeah. And you have to be willing to recognize when that season comes, and you have to be willing to recognize what you could be doing while you're waiting on that season. And so I've been kind of in that state of mind, and that's the reason why I'm not somewhere under the bed curled up, like it's just not gonna happen. Mm-hmm. I'm not in that way, because I believe that whatever God is intending for my life, it is already done. It's just a matter of time, And so I've kind of been trying to fall in line with that.
And it's when once you get up there, it's like you definitely you have to be willing to give up some of your morals.
I was just gonna ask.
You saw a lot of, I've watched a lot of people, I don't want to get too much into it, but they're not the same person no more at all.
The before and after is real.
You know what I mean? And so it is extremely tricky. It's like, on one hand, you want to sing, you got a great voice, you want everybody to see your talent, but at what cost?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I think that just to speak from where I stand, that's the reason I stay in the state of mind of like I want the will of God to be done. And not to over spiritualize everything, but my whole focus, I understand what music is a spiritual thing, regardless of what genre it is, right? You have some people that are throwing some music and it'll cause them to go commit suicide. It's spiritual. You get what I'm saying? You have some people that put on music and cause you to want to go make love. You know what I'm saying? And then you have music that's put on and it causes you want to worship God, right? It's all spiritual regardless of the genre, right? my thing and where I stand is music is an avenue for something, right? And for me, it's all purposeful. My voice, my gift, down to the sound of my speaking voice. It is an avenue for what I feel like is my path journey, what God is going to do through me. And so you almost have to let go of the idea that I want to be the next one to blow. And I want to be the most famous in the year that, look, 2023 going to be my year where it's, you almost have to let go of that idea and fall into submission to what's, you know what I'm saying? You still have to do the work, but ultimately you're not so focused on the outcome that it breaks you if it don't happen the way that you thought it would. Yeah. You know, so I think that's why I'm not, so bent out of shape, because, I'm not so focused on the outcome anymore. It's like I'm gonna do what it is that I'm supposed to do, and I'm gonna trust that my path is already unfolded before me.
Yeah, and a lot of people feel like they should be superstars and things like that, and that's a personal feeling. That's how you feel. That ain't how God feels. That might not be the plan that He has for you. He might not even intend for you to be an artist. He might be intend for you to be a producer who produces a billion artists.
Right?
You never know.
Absolutely. And you have to be willing to tap into whatever that truth is, because some people scratching for the spotlight. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us we want that leading. We want the leading character, the lead role. Yes. You get what I'm saying? And when it comes down to it, everybody has a role to play, and it's not always guaranteed that you're the person in the spotlight, but you may be the person that pops everything off for the person in the spotlight. Everybody is not willing to be the person that pops the person off in the spotlight. And I think that that's where we get the crabs in the barrel type of situation going.
So bigger than money, more about recognition.
Yeah. Clout.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's a lot. Do you know how many people? Yeah, it's bigger than money. It's like you want the money, of course, but you want to be. I think it's people would rather who are good with seeming like they got money just because of the clout that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you probably got $32.52 in the bank right now. You get what I'm saying? But if I got 52,000 followers, or if I got 2 million followers, I'm busting, and that matters to me. That's the world we in right now. That's the way that we set up. We set up to be we set up to chase clout. We set up to want to be loved and want to be liked. And I think that that's a natural thing that we have, just being human beings. We want to be loved, and we want to be liked. We want to be accepted, and we want to belong. So social media has only brought height. It's only heightened that thing, because you can be whoever you want to be there. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter who you are or how much money you got. It's about what it look like.
Yep. That's a fact. What it look like to you. That's the thing. Like you said, like Migos said it best. I'd rather be rich than famous. But like you said, there are a lot of people out here who'd rather be famous than rich, because a lot of them, what comes with fame will make them rich. Because I got a lot of followers. I can always ask for donations. I can always do partnerships. So I understand it. You know what I'm saying? And if we're talking about it from a biblical standpoint, not even Solomon asked for riches. He was rich, but he didn't pray to be rich. It was just given to him.
It was given when he asked for knowledge and wisdom. Then he became rich and wealthy.
Of how to guide his people. So you know what I'm saying? That's, we talk about that a lot ourselves. We talk about, people shouldn't pray for wealth. You shouldn't pray for money. God didn't ask you he didn't put you here for money. So you shouldn't be praying for it, because it's not nothing that He's going to work super hard to give you. It's not nothing. If a man don't work, he don't eat. So you shouldn't be praying for money if you ain't working. If you ain't putting no work in, what are you going to give you the money for? He'll never give you more than you can handle again. So things like that. How, in the industry, obviously, but you being in the faith, because it's hard. It's very rare that you talk to people in the faith that's in the industry. What are some of the hardships of being in the faith and being in the industry, outside of not just being willing to put down your morals? Because we know there's a lot more that comes with it when it comes to getting to the top.
Well, I think that the putting down of your morals is the thing, though. That's the, like, when you talk about being in the industry and being in the faith while trying to really walk after God's heart, I think that's the big part. The biggest part of it is the putting down, having to decide on what you're willing to sacrifice and compromise. That could be anywhere from you being willing to remove your clothes to you being willing to do sex scenes, or you being willing to do, things that the faith probably would have you convicted, like I'm convicted in my spirit about this. But if I don't do this, I risk not reaching my full potential in the industry, whether that be that, singing, acting, all of those things. So I think that that's the biggest, that's the grand part right there, but you were asking outside of that, what is it?
Yeah.
What would you?
Along with morals, because along with morals comes a whole bunch of things behind it. Like, obviously you have your morals and your standards that you're not willing to do. Well, then they start to get you to break routine and build a different type of repetition for certain things that you're doing. Like, you may have a way that you know how to make a song or things like that. They're introducing something that's coming out from left field that ain't got it ain't gonna have no bearing on this song right here. But it's because there's something that they want you to do. I want you to work with this artist, knowing that this artist ain't finna make this song no better, and ain't you get no better in your craft, but they want you to work with this artist to help them out. Things like that.
So that happens more so for artists who are signed to labels that control their situation. In this day and age right now, we so independent, you know what I'm saying? But for those who are signed to major labels, or even to just a label, that means that the label is what the label is there to do is put their money behind you, and when people put their money behind you, they paying the cost to be the boss. I learned this personally. When I did come off The Voice, I did sign a contract, and it wasn't a major contract. I signed a business deal. And it's not that these people I worked with were sharks. You know what I'm saying? One of them in particular, I feel like he definitely had my best interest at heart. What I learned in this situation, though, is that when people are putting their money on the table and on the line, they want control. It's not, I'm not going to give you money and control. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to give you my money and let you control things. I want to control what my money is getting ready to do. I want to control what we up against here. And that's understandable. Like, at the time, I was very green and, coming off The Voice, I was a brand new artist at that point, and I went into the business deal thinking a certain way. And it was like, yeah, we gonna sign these documents saying that. But at the end of the day, if I'm putting my money on the table, you gonna kowtow to what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna kowtow to what it is that we putting on the table for you to do, even if you don't necessarily agree with that. So that does come with the territory of being a signed artist, somebody that has some people back, and you are putting money on the table for you to blow.
And how do we get from Chicago and everything that you witnessed growing up and being in the church and things like that? How do we go from that to The Voice?
Well, honestly, that was a thing where, first of all, I never liked the idea of competitive performing, like just as far as American Idol and I really never had interest in doing things like that, because I felt like, man, whatever I'm gonna do, I feel like it's gonna happen without me having to compete for the spot. You know what I'm saying? Like that. That's how I always felt. But at the time that I decided to go on The Voice, I felt in my heart that it was time for me to get the exposure that kind of platform would bring. So I went from singing. I started a year before I went to The Voice. I started singing with a jobbing band, right? And I do this work to this day. But me singing with a jobbing band kind of prepared me for the platform of The Voice, because before then I was heavily into gospel, doing, because I was more so into church and doing concerts and different things like that in the gospel area. But the year before I went to The Voice, it kind of prepared me with, unbeknownst to me, it prepared me. I was doing wedding gigs, like upscale wedding gigs, multi-million-dollar weddings, the corporate events. When McDonald's had a big corporate events, we doing stuff like that, right? And it caused me to have to step outside of what I was normally doing and learn all this kind of material that eventually prepared me for what I did on The Voice. When I went on The Voice, I sang so much classic stuff. Rather Go Blind, Ain't Nobody, Drown in My Own Tears, Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, all of that kind of stuff. I was only prepared for that because of the stuff that came before that. So what led me to it, to me, it was just a spur of the moment thought of, it's time. It's time for me to take on the level of exposure that I feel like is due. And this platform obviously is doing that for people. I saw a couple people before me who I knew personally that went on the show, and I saw what it did for them. So it was like, okay, I think that this is a good opportunity, and this just might be the time. Let me go. And that's what led to me going. It wasn't a thing where I always planned to do it, or I felt like it was eventually gonna happen,
And for the audience, when we're talking about The Voice, you're saying it like it's just something small. Like, obviously, I mean, you were there, but let's be honest with it. You made it. You advanced pretty far. And I mean, with the whole Team Miley situation, and then you got with Alicia Keys, I believe, correct?
Yes.
How was that? Because she was your coach she was your coach, and not only were you on the team, she was your coach. So how was it with her being coached by a legend like Alicia Keys, who's been in the industry and going through some of the things that you are already witnessed up until that point?
Yeah. First and foremost, let me just say it was surreal. It was like you in the moment, and as things are happening, you too close up on it to even, it's like a surreal situation. But Alicia is definitely true to what she seems like across the screen, right? She's very down to earth, big sisterly. She like a big sister. She comes off that way on screen, and indeed, that is how she is. Like, so when it was time for me to be coached by her, we spent extra time. Like, my rehearsals lasted longer than anybody's rehearsals, because we in there trying stuff. We doing, you know what I'm saying? She was very excited about me, and that I can appreciate. And so while I was taking that journey, when it was each time, anytime I had a chance of getting voted off, Alicia was like, "Nah, SaRayah," and it was like, so she was advocating for me and all of that stuff. And so yeah, it was definitely a huge deal, and it was a great experience.
That's beautiful. Cause like you said, I mean, that's one thing I noticed. It seemed like, she took a liking to you, because obviously voice and things like that, and where you were going in the direction it was headed, she wanted to be a part of it. What's one thing that I would say you learned, not only from The Voice, but from working with Alicia Keys, that you would say stuck with you throughout the rest of the competition and your training with her?
I would say, number one, the importance of being authentic, staying authentic. You know what I'm saying? To who you are, right? Not because a lot of times we can be quick to want to merge in to whatever is busting or popping at the time. Yeah. When the biggest thing you got going for you is that ain't nobody like you. Absolutely. That's the biggest thing that you have going for you, is that there is no other you. So if you do you to the best of your ability, can't nobody light a match to it, because they can't do you. Alicia Keys, she was a good reminder of that. It was like, nah, when I sang Rather Go Blind, I actually just posted that as a throwback yesterday. When I sang Rather Go Blind, it was between Rather Go Blind and Adele's Send Your Love, right? And we had a long rehearsal that day, because rather than just doing one song, we had to decide which song was necessary. Alicia said, after I sang Rather Go Blind, she said, nah, that's the one. She like, I know Sing Your Love, because it's by Adele, it's going to get more traction on iTunes, which was very important for The Voice. For you to stick around, you needed to be a cash cow on iTunes. What are people most likely to buy? Adele or Etta James right now? You get what I'm saying? And I had talked to Alicia, and I said, well, sis, I've been doing classic stuff the whole time. Don't you think it's time we kind of bump it up to something new? Something that'll do well on iTunes. All she knew when we got through with that rehearsal, and we did them 2 songs. She said, I understand what you said, but nah, because the way that you deliver on Rather Go Blind is you. She said it's something about the way you deliver that. You bring you to that song, and that is what's gonna be the thing that allows it to connect to people. And that was what brought that big moment of Rather Go Blind. It was her being adamant about, no, you need to do you on this platform. Bottom line. You need to do what makes you valuable on the platform. And so, yeah, I took that away from her. And yeah, I think that was the major thing that I took away. It was just like, know that you are the thing that makes you valuable.
Absolutely.
So are you working on new music, new projects currently now?
I am. Right now I am working on a new project, and one song in particular, a song called Love Don't Let Me Down. And this is that song, I believe, is gonna do some good stuff. It's gonna do some great things, because it's sort of like it's a soulful song. It's a soul song, and it's so churchy. You would almost, it's like, and I love
get a
stuff
sample?
like that. Huh?
Can we get a sample?
Well, look, this is what I will do. When it's maybe I'll give y'all an exclusive when it's time for it to be released. Maybe before it comes out or something. Before it comes out, y'all can get an exclusive as to kind of release it on y'all platform or something like that.
Okay, we'll take that. We'll take that.
Yeah.
What do you have going on, moving on in the future? Obviously, we got a new project on the way. You're working on your new song. Can we look towards any videos coming out, any collabs, or any acting gigs or anything like that? What do you have going on in the future coming up?
So I've been working heavily with my girl, my sis. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Tyranda Jones. She is she's most known from her role as Portia on Empire. She was Cookie's personal assistant on Empire. Taraji's characters, her personal assistant on Empire. And so she got a lot of recognition just being on Empire for all the seasons that they were even on. And so she and I have been working. She's actually the one that's been kind of helping me produce this situation with my project that I'm working on right now. She's put me with some of her people and getting some things done. And so I think that, yeah, it's safe to say that once we're getting the music done, videos will follow that, visuals will follow that. And
have a release party.
Yes, I will. So the plan,
have a release party, invite us out. We'll bring the camera out.
Absolutely. A listening party.
Yeah.
I definitely once the project is sealed, you know what I'm saying, it's a sealed deal, I'm definitely gonna do to make a big deal of it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll definitely invite you all out to make sure y'all have those details.
All right.
Before we get out of here, is there any information or any advice that you could give from that sisterly perspective that you were in with Alicia Keys? Is there any advice you can give to the youth who are looking to get into the industry, or who are maybe in the same situation that you were in, a few years ago? Can you give any advice to them and let them know what they could do moving forward?
Yeah, I think the advice would be, well, at least a piece of the advice would be to get clear on what it is that your goal is, right? When it comes down to what you're doing in the industry, you have to be clear on where you're trying to go. Like, what is the end goal for you? If you just loosely moving out here, it's easy to just be tossed all over the place and you never get anywhere with it. What is your goal? Because the things that you do have to serve that purpose. The things that you put your time into, the things that you give your energy to, the things that you put work in on has to make sense to the goal that you have. If you haven't solidified that goal, you'll be ever moving with no direction. So that's get clear on your goal Get clear on what's most important to you, what you are willing, because you have to know what you're not going to be willing to compromise. If you don't have that standard set, it's going to be easy for you to go in, fold, and lose who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lose who you are if you don't have already in your mind what your standards are and what you are not willing to compromise. I mean, this is my goal, but if I got to do this to do it, I don't know about that. You got to have that in mind so that you are not taken in a direction that you would rather not go. And so that's my advice, is to get to be clear, get clear, and allow your moves to serve that purpose. Don't put your time and your energy into things that don't serve you or serve the goal that you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we appreciate you conversing.
Also, hold on, before also, I would say, wherever that, because a huge part of my thing has been mission minded. What is it that you're looking to accomplish with what you're doing? That as well. Have that in mind as well. Because I know for a fact that I feel like if I never do music again, my purpose is still, I know that I still have a purpose. You get what I'm saying? And I know that music is just one of the avenues for the purpose that I have. Mm-hmm. What is that purpose? Why are you doing it? Mm-hmm. What are you doing it for? If you have an idea of that, what's happening in this industry won't break you. What is the purpose of what you're doing? If it's just to get famous, it's ways to do that on TikTok, and it's ways to do that on OnlyFans, and whatever it is that you need to do, thirst trap, whatever it is that you need to do, it's multiple ways to get famous. You have to have a purpose behind what it is that you're doing in order for it to all come together and make sense at the end of the day. I know personally that my purpose is to bring people to the Most High God. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why I do music. I've been doing music, me and Taronda working, and I'm like, sis, I can't say that. Now, certain things I'm not going to say in my music, because I understand that ultimately I have to be a good representation of what the ultimate goal is. So if I veer too far off, that's going to be questionable. This is what determines the shape of your music. This is what determines how you move in your decision making when it comes to the opportunities. Every opportunity is not going to be one for you. Everything that's good is not necessarily good for you.